Aleema Khan, Imran Khan's sister, who on that fateful evening of 26th November was actually present over there. I can see her. I hope we can also hear her. Aleema Khan Sahiba, can you hear my voice? We cannot hear her, so we need to fix the volume. Can you unmute her? Can you unmute yourself, or is the problem exist at our side?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but can you speak a bit louder? Can we raise her volume?
Okay.
Dr. Aleema Khan Sahaba, can you speak louder? I think you have to raise the volume.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's very faint.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Volume.
In which you're speaking, can you bring it closer to yourself? Can you go closer to the microphone? क्या करें? What can we do?
नहीं है। Volume नहीं है ना?
Are you through a laptop?
Yeah, it's through a laptop.
It's through a laptop, yes.
Can you hear me now?
It's better. Let's maintain silence here. It's better if you can bring yourself a little bit closer to the microphone of the laptop. It would also help. My question to you is, you were present on the Jinnah Avenue, which is a several kilometer long road. Where were you at the time? What was happening? And what you saw? This is what my question to you is.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Moeed. And in fact, I wanted to join you so that I could give you an account, because we were present right there, closer to the front. You see, the problem everybody is talking about is a D chalk, this location. It's still a road. This is an avenue that runs to the center of Islamabad. That's the main road over there. So people, when they come for a protest, come on, next time you're going to say that you should book a space for it. There were thousands of people. I think there were over 100,000 people when they march for a protest. And please keep in mind what the protest was for. Imran Khan had called the protest for the prisoners that are incarcerated in jail. These are political prisoners which have been incarcerated in jail, illegally incarcerated. Secondly, he said, you come for your stolen mandate, which is for democracy. And the third thing was for the rule of law, because we know that there are certain laws enforced in Pakistan, which is for the suppression of the Supreme Court. So these are, people had come for their own rights. They were demanding an end to the fascism that we've all been suffering for the past 1.5 years. My brother's in jail, my nephew's in jail. My sister and I were picked up and taken to prison for 3 weeks. So, and there are thousands of other people who've had to face really hard, it's been very, very tough. Their relatives are picked up. So if people come to protest for their rights, my niece, my sister and myself were standing right there and very close to where everything was happening. My niece, my sister's granddaughter, who's about 15, 16-year-old, she was with us. They were old people, they were women. Nobody goes with their children. Nobody goes to a protest with their children if they think you're entering an area where you are going to create a riot. It was because we went there for our rights. So while we were right there in front where you're talking about the space, they're tall buildings. So about 3:30, a lot of people brought empty shells for us and said, and they pointed out the buildings where the firing was coming from. They said there's sniper rifles on the rooftops. And they said, I was like, it was quite shocking, I can tell you that. Now, these are not people who are protesting or breaking anything. I'm telling you, this is where we were standing. There were people sitting on the roadside. They'd been on the road for over 30 hours. So they were resting on the green belts. They were resting on the service lanes. It's a very widespread area. It's a market. So there were just people sitting on the road or standing like we were. So when you start firing, whether it's one bullet or whether it is two bullets, just explain why would you fire into a crowd when they are only sitting over there. It is a protest. So the crime now is that you cannot protest or ask for your rights. That is the crime that was committed that day. And you start firing into the crowd, and in the documentary, I could see they used the word afternoon. By the afternoon, there were already 12 people dead that we are claiming because they were taken to the hospital. The real operation started late at night. When we left, it was about 10 o'clock at night, 9:30, 10. And by that time, I think about 8:30, it was already pitch dark. So when this military unit moved in, that is when the real massacre occurred. So when you're counting dead bodies, I can tell you, we saw they were firing at people just standing over there. When you start firing from rooftops, you just fire into anybody. Somebody picked up a picture. You haven't seen those pictures where somebody picked up Imran Khan's portrait and he was getting himself up. He was having somebody photograph him and they shot him dead. There are accounts where a person is making his selfie and you could see that he is shot in his shoulder. We saw the wounded. I mean, I'm not talking about rubber bullets. These are like bullet wounds. And that already started at 3:30 in the afternoon. So there's a difference. I will point out in the afternoon, there was sniper rifle, but at night there was a proper operation. And that's when they used the bigger guns. Like these, you can hear them in the videos. There's so much evidence available of how in the pitch dark, you could hear the machine. It's like machine gun fire, whatever they use, whatever automatic weapons they used. The question remains, why were people fired upon? Was it to make them create an atmosphere of fear? Let me point out that these people, when they came out, we were walking down one of the main avenues, which we call Srinagar Highway. We were with them all night. And when, like, we were in a car, but we were moving with the people. There were miles, I'm talking about miles of people walking on foot with the determination, with the jubilation. It was like, I asked some of them, what are you feeling today? They said, we feel we've come out of a very dark time of 1.5 years. And we feel, and they were waving. I can tell you, I have waved. There were policemen standing on roads and waving to us, and we waved back at them. So there was no atmosphere. The military personnel were waving when we saw some of them. So there was it was a deception. I'm telling you, there was no atmosphere where you could feel that you're going into a trap. And I'm telling you, that was a trap. Because otherwise, we would not take our children with us if we thought there was going to be gunfire. Why would we take our children? This was the worst. This was going to be a day Pakistan remembers. We've just come out of Syria situation and we are watching their prisons open up. Is that where they're mistaken if they think that Pakistan is going to head in that same direction? Pakistanis are not going to let that happen. We cannot deal with this sort of fascism post that date. Post that date, there are people cannot be located. 200 is a conservative number. There are hundreds more that people are still looking for because there are thousands in prison. When at the moment the relatives are trying to locate their loved ones in prison, So they go from, and the games they are playing, it is terrible, because people go to one police station, or they are looking, there are hundreds of police stations that they're trying to locate their loved ones in. So because they can't locate them in prison, so they don't know whether they're dead or alive. This sort of a thing is a shock to Pakistan. Let me tell you, there's the post-mortem report. So they wouldn't let them have post-mortem, right? Then when they got a post-mortem, when they got one of them, a young boy, 17-year-old, they got the post-mortem done. The hospital wouldn't give them the report. And their home was raided. They were threatened. The amount of threats, I mean, you can't imagine how the relatives are being treated. So the relatives are in absolute fear. Where do you take the families of the people who died? Where do you take the families of the ones who are injured? They are being threatened. So some have come forward. If people want to interview them, we've sort of, volunteers are saying that we will sort of fudge their faces, like blur their voices and faces and have the interviews. But there is a lawyers team which are working on it. But when we say missing, remember, I'll repeat myself, there are so many volunteer lawyers that are going from one police station to the other, helping the relatives locate them. You cannot identify the dead until you identify where the missing, unless the missing are not located, their relatives will not know whether they are dead or alive. So I understand when the political party is unable to give a confirmed number because there are no dead bodies. So legally they say that unless we don't have a dead body, how can we say that they are dead? So they could be located or traced to a police station. This is a very serious time. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling my Pakistani overseas, they understand that they have relatives over here, that it is a very big mistake to have shot at your own people. If for a minute they think that people are now going to sort of retreat with fear into their homes, I think it's a very serious situation in Pakistan right now, because you do not bring your military out to shoot at your people. That never happens. It was a peaceful protest. I keep saying we would not take a 14-year-old, 15-year-old to a protest. We were right there in the front. If you say, oh, they were about to break into what area? Were they going to break into there's a big distance. People come and protest over outside the White House, don't they? Outside the gate of the White House? Do you not come and protest in front of the White House? You're talking about at least a kilometer away from any of these buildings. So if you're a kilometer away, you're not even close to the building. So why were you firing at a crowd sitting in the middle of a road? And I'll tell you what happens with young people anywhere in the world. It's a universal factor. You fire tear gas and rubber bullets at them, they turn around and pick up the tear gas shells and throw it back. That becomes a game. Even I was telling them, there's a tear gas shell over there, throw it back. Because you want to save yourself from tear gas. Why not? Why are you throwing tear gas at me in the first place? Apart from that, a game of tear gas is understood. But when you put people, snipers on top of a building, that's a crime. It is a crime against humanity. It is a crime against peaceful protesters. And it is not just limited to Pakistan. When I mentioned it on Australian TV, and I would like you to hear that. Pakistan is a member of Commonwealth, and it has all the countries led by the by United Kingdom. And I did ask the three main factors, like the 3 points of the charter, which brings all these nations together, is rule of law, democracy, human rights. Exactly the 3 points that this protest was for. So when we are demanding or protesting for these 3 points, for human rights, for rule of law, and for democracy, why would we be fired at? Why were we shot at? Why was my granddaughter, my sister's granddaughter, put at that risk? What was that the fault of a 14-year-old? There were so many children there. There were so many older people over there. So it's a, thank you for having me.